Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide with the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the outstanding Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. It is a great day to be in Wisconsin. Welcome in, everybody. It is a little cloudy, a little overcast in downtown Madison at the world headquarters. I chuckled there as we came on the air because I'm not sure what's up, Zommers. My ears are off today. And I just went to the doctor last week, and he says everything's fine. I think what it is there's a big storm system coming into the area, and my ears are like a barometer. And so they're crackling and popping, and especially the one that has the tube in it. And so everything sounds a little off.
That'll even do it for some people who have quote unquote normal ears.
Really? Yeah. So
I get it a little bit, just not.
Everything sounds tinny in my ear. Reminds me of my old boss Peter Thanis at WRCO about another colleague, Ray Schrader, who played great music on Saturdays. I think they were really great friends, but they're the kind of friends like old man friends who just pick on each other constantly. And he used to say to my former and once again our current colleague Phil Nee at RCO, he used to say, "I'm always sad that son of a gun has a tin ear."
Yep.
So I feel like I've got a bit of a tin ear today, but we shall carry on. It's going to be a great show today. Our old friend Luke Mathers is in here at the bottom of the hour for Tuesday Tangents with Lukester. We'll talk a little news and a little sports as well. Badger basketball tries to get back on track tomorrow evening up at Minnesota at the barn, as they still call it up there. They have one of those elevated floors up at Minnesota for basketball. And I think they still do it under Greg Gard when Bo Ryan was there. Before the game, as soon as the team got there and got their practice time on the floor, Bo or the assistant, they would roll basketballs along the edge of the court and have guys go and dive after it and fall off the edge. And so that it was ingrained in them that, look, you can do this and you're not going to get hurt. If you do if you go after it and just keep going and roll off, you're fine. But if you get scared and try to prevent yourself from rolling off,
then you're going to get hurt.
That's where you're going to get. So it's always when they take video of this, you see guys rolling off the floor up there in Minnesota, and I anticipate they'll do that tomorrow. Anyway, a big game for the Badgers. They need this after a loss to Michigan State over the weekend, and then the Badgers will wrap up at home against Penn State this weekend. So we'll talk with that about Luke. Also broadcast tonight, President Donald Trump delivering, they don't call it a State of the Union speech on their first year, but that's essentially what it is. It's technically called the presidential address. Trump addressing Congress and all kinds of implications with that. We'll talk to Luke about that. We're going to carry that broadcast tonight via our CBS and ABC network anchors, depending upon which station you're listening to. But if you have the Civic Media app, you can select which one you want to listen to, depending upon the station.
That is at 8 p.m.
Well, did I say 7? Sorry.
I think you also said 8.
It's 8 o'clock is the bottom line. So you want to tune in to that as well. We're going to talk a little bit about Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth now going after civilians. Tell me 5 things you did this week. Coming up at hour 2, what's worse? Timely indeed. It's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. So we'll give you a choice, homemade or Taco Bell. What's worse? And hour number 2, so all kinds of more things. Yes, I talk for a living. All kinds of other things in the show. So stick around. Your phone calls as well. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. The barometer is just throwing me off. Here's where I want to begin today. A story that we did yesterday. And I got some calls from listeners who wanted clarification, not the least of which was Mom. Now, she said, well, you had this story on yesterday about Social Security. I think you better clarify. And this is good feedback. And I had a couple other people because this is very serious stuff. And I made clear yesterday when we talked about this story, I said, look, I'm not here to scare people or fearmonger or clickbait. I just thought it was pertinent to pass on what I knew so that people could plan and know what's going on. As we say, pursuing the truth wherever it may lead. So I want to clarify now. This was a story over the weekend on CNBC, one of the cable news outlets, part of the Universal NBC network. It was on online at NBC.com as well, other places. And this isn't the only source. There are other reputable sources out here. The headline says, Social Security has never missed a payment. Doge actions threaten, quote, interruption of benefits, unquote, ex-agency head says. It was published on Saturday, March 1st, so over this past weekend. And I want to clarify, and again, everything we said yesterday was accurate, but I think my mistake was I didn't time the story out well in terms of when I read it. So we talked about part of the story, we took a commercial break, and then we talked about the rest of it. So I want to make sure that people understand, especially the second part of this story that we talked about after the commercial break yesterday, about whose benefits may be most at risk. So the thrust of the story here is that the Social Security Administration for 80 years, not missing payments to people, 72.5 million people receive some form of Social Security. And the former commissioner of the Social Security Commission, Martin O'Malley, was interviewed by CNBC over the weekend for a governor of Maryland, saying, look, because of what Elon Musk and Trump are doing in their so-called made-up Department of Government Efficiency, but unfortunately it has real power, been given real power by Trump and Musk, and not in check by Congress. Anyway, because of what Doge is doing, all these severe cuts, without asking questions. And I've made clear in this program, as someone who used to work in state and federal government, I do think there's room for audits and efficiency and cuts, but you have to use a scalpel, not a chainsaw. So former Governor and Administrator O'Malley was on CNBC over the weekend saying that some people, keyword some, may see interruptions. But I think it's important to clarify that in terms of whose benefits may be affected, those people who are currently on Social Security and you receive a monthly check and it gets direct deposited into your bank account, you are the least likely to be affected. Let me say that again. If you are currently receiving Social Security payments and you get a direct deposit, your benefits have the least chance of being affected. You will most likely continue on. But in this story, they say that benefits Americans rely on could be at risk based on Trump's overhaul of the agency. Quote, the American public needs to understand that one of their major social security safety nets is in dire jeopardy, unquote, said Jill Hornick, a union official at the American Federation of Government Employees Local 1395, which primarily represents Social Security offices in Illinois. So these folks are unionized, and this is one of the union officials saying this. She said, quote, it'll take a while for the effects to be felt, but they're coming. Predicting what will happen to Social Security is going to be, quote, far worse than the planned cuts to Medicaid. Story says for people who are already receiving Social Security benefits, most of that is automated and may not be affected, she said. However, processing new claims, whether it be for retirement or disability benefits, may take longer since those cannot be processed without Social Security employees. Now, last Thursday, Social Security Administration sent a notice to employees that gives them until March 14th to decide whether to take an early buyout. Unlike the previous offer in January, this now includes service employees and staff reductions in that area that may impact how quickly the agency processes benefit claims and provides other services. For example, if a woman files for a survivor benefit after her husband dies, she needs to provide a copy of her marriage license. A Social Security employee then needs to code the system to verify that they have sent that document and that the applicant is eligible for benefits. Quote, not everybody can do things electronically, unquote, particularly the older adults and disabled individuals who the Social Security Administrator serves, said Maria Fries, a senior legislative representative at the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Quote, if you don't have people to run an agency that requires hands-on customer service, then of course there is a risk that you could end up with benefits either being denied or interrupted, unquote. So I hope that makes it clear. What we're talking about here is that if you have particularly people with new benefits or a change in benefits, and you're unable to do things electronically, or maybe even if you are, there still has to be a live person within Social Security at some point to process that for you. And if the Musk-Trump cuts continue, that could, keyword could, slow down that benefit. So I'll repeat it one more time. For those people who are on Social Security right now, who are receiving a check electronically, most likely your benefits will not be interrupted. I can't sit here, I mean, none of us can, right? I can't sit here and say I can guarantee you it'll never be interrupted. But the likelihood is it won't. What we're talking about are new folks to the system. People have to file for changes, that sort of thing. So I hope that clears it up, and apologies if for not including that all in the same segment. That's on me, because I think the people heard the first part of it, that, benefits could be interrupted, and understandably freaked out a little bit, because this is nothing to mess around with. There are all kinds of folks out there, good folks, hardworking folks, who've worked all their lives, and there was a promise that Social Security would be there for us or them when they retired. And they rely on that to live, to pay house payments, rent, food, electricity. And without that, be dire consequences. So I hope that clears it up. Welcome to call in. We can talk about it as well. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. We'll come back, talk about another little part of Doge, the Trump system, and Luke Mathers is straight ahead as well. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday, right here across Wisconsin and around the world on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Judge Brad Schimmel is an anti-choice politician whose positions are too extreme for Wisconsin women. He supports a pre-Civil War law that bans abortion, but don't take our word for it. Hear it in his own words.
The 1849 ban on abortions, which, by the way, what is flawed about that law?
The 1849 abortion ban provides no exceptions for rape or incest.
What is flawed about that law?
The 1849 law criminalizes doctors and their patients.
What is flawed about that law?
Brad Schimmel supports an 1849 law to ban abortion with no exceptions.
The Supreme Court
Tell
ruled
Brad
this
Schimmel,
morning
extreme politics
in a
don't
5-4
belong on
ruling
Wisconsin
that the
Supreme
Clean Water
Court.
Act's limitations on raw sewage discharge into water are now weaker.
Oh, there you go.
So that's cool and fun.
Make sure you have your filtration system.
Paid for by a Better Wisconsin Together Incorporated.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Governor Tony Evers has released his budget, calling this the most pro-kid
Thank you.
budget in six
Thank you,
years.
Elliot Tom. Yeah.
This is now the fourth
Yeah,
time
I'll
Evers
predict the
proposed
weather
a
at my
budget
ear.
proposal, and the three prior were all met with a similar fate. Republicans in the legislature rejected it entirely. Again this year, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos called the budget dead on arrival. To a certain extent, this is what we've come to expect from this era of divided government in Wisconsin. In previous years, Evers has eventually signed Republican-authored budgets and used his line-item veto powers to make certain changes. But could he play hardball this time around and threaten to veto the entire budget? Is there anything in this pro-kid budget that has to be there? Things like education funding, or clean water protections, or Medicaid expansion. With everything going on in Washington, now might be the right time for Evers to fight for these proposals and fight for Wisconsinites in any way he can.
Find all of Dan's work at the
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 now past the hour of 12 noon on a Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Glad to have you along. Luke Mathers coming up at the bottom of the hour for some Tuesday tangents right now, talking a little bit about the story over the weekend on CNBC on Social Security. The so-called Department of Government Efficiency looking to cut more positions across the board, many of those now in the Social Security Administration, and saying that that could, keyword could, affect particularly people applying for new benefits. If you're new to Social Security. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Mark, listening in Prairie Stack. Mark, thanks for calling. Let's see.
Well, considering, I mean, it used to be just old hat for the employers are there to, process the new benefits kind of thing, and probably did them very efficiently, and that now people are going to have to wait. And Elon Musk is dancing around, prancing around, jumping up and down, and I don't give a rip that he claims, well, he's on the spectrum, so he should be forgiven for his inhuman behavior. That it is just sad to me that people are likely going to suffer pretty badly because of this kind of thing going on. And that in the old days when the king failed, back in pre-Christian time, as I understand it, reading about pre-Christian England, I mean, the king kind of paid for it with his life. I mean that. It is just sad. I mean that, and we don't even have the choice of that when when Henry II made that offhand comment about, when somebody rid me of this querulous monk or priest that the Canterbury monks administers as punishment. That and that unfortunately, Donald Trump is immune to all of this now. Apparently now he wants to move his 34 felony convictions to federal court, and I don't understand how that is possible to happen, but who knows? Right.
Lots going on, Mark. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call, particularly on that Social Security Social Security issue. Yeah, I mean, it's looking more and more these cuts that Elon Musk is making across government with Trump's help, or at least support, is going to directly affect our lives. Not the least of which is, again, in the flurry of a very important story from Friday, of course, the debacle of the Oval Office when Trump and Vance went apoplectic on President Zelensky of Ukraine, was lost over the weekend that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth put out a statement to not just Department of Defense military folks, but also the civilian folks. Thousands of people work in the Department of Defense, but are not military. They're not in one of the branches. They're employed for their skills, and they are part of the Department of Defense. And ultimately, those civilian folks, one of their supervisors is going to be someone in the military, but they do jobs within the military. And many of them, by the way, require security clearance, all kinds of background checks, because they deal with sensitive information. Elon Musk, of course, putting out a couple weeks ago, the edict. You have to email me through the Office of Personnel and Management, OPM. 5 things that you did, 5 things that you did in your job to justify yourself, or if you don't respond, you'll be fired. Hegseth, vis-a-vis the Department of Defense official websites and Twitter, said to hold off, pause on that. And now over the weekend, he and Musk got together and Hegseth capitulated. Here is the message that Pete Hegseth put out to the United States Department of Defense employees over the weekend.
Hey, everybody. Here at the Defense Department, we've got a lot of civilian patriots who dedicate themselves to defending this nation while working here at the Department of Defense. And a lot of them, many of them, most of them are critical to our national security. And as we work to restore focus on DoD's core warfighting mission under President Trump's leadership, we recognize that we cannot accomplish that mission without the strong and important contributions of our civilian workforce. But it's a really big workforce as well, which we recognize. Now, on February 22nd of this year, OPM sent an email to all federal civilians asking them to provide, you remember this, approximately 5 bullets of what they did last week, describing their accomplishments. Well, the Department of Defense employees received direction to, at first, just initially pause responding to this request to OPM, just to pause. Now, as we said, following a review of Pentagon procedures and consultation with the Office of Personnel Management, because we work on topics of national security, of sensitivity, of classification, we needed to be careful on that front. I am now directing each member of the department's civilian workforce, just civilian, to provide those 5 bullets on what they accomplished in their specific jobs last week, to reply to that email and CC their immediate supervisors. It's a simple task, really, as Elon said, as the president recognized in our first cabinet meeting, just a pulse check. Are you there out to DoD civilians? Now, all those DoD civilians will receive an email outlining the next steps, we'll get that email soon, that they need to take in order to comply with this initiative. And then the reports will be consolidated internally within the department to comply with the OPM directive. It's really simple and straightforward. The directive to civilian employees will be clear. Reply to the email, CC your supervisor, provide without any classified or sensitive information, basic topics of what you did last week, and that we will take that into consideration as we make sure we're being as focused and as tailored as possible in looking at how we streamline our workforce to both meet the fiscal demands of the moment, but also ensure we have the strongest, most viable fighting force in the world. Thanks.
Wanted to bring that to you uninterrupted, unchopped up. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, his message to Department of Defense civilian employees. Couple of things about it. Also very cheery, right? Very. Hey, well, I guess when you're in communication in Fox News, you're able to really, good communication skills. I'll give him that. As someone who worked for a former United States congressman, Republican actually, and handled Department of Defense military issues, a couple of problems there. First of all, what they are now requiring civilians in the Department of Defense is to email OPM, Office of Personnel Management, which is outside of the secure email network of Department of Defense, and tell them what you did. Many folks cannot tell anybody what they did outside the Department of Defense unless they have security clearance. And those OPM emails, not secured the way Department of Defense emails are. You're putting our nation at risk. We'll come back and discuss it with Luke Mathers and more. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday on Civic Media.
Welcome to Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
As of 12:01 a.m. this morning, 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico are in place. But how does that affect the consumer? I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and John Heinberg, a market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, is here to give some insight on what could happen for our domestic consumers here in the U.S.
Realistically, sometimes we may not see the local consumer impact. Again, we'll have to find out how that kind of plays out in terms of some of those products, because again, we ship a lot of products there, but we use a lot of those same products at home. So it depends on what the product is. Obviously, if we're bringing something into the United States that's something we don't raise here, that could be an area we do see some elevated costs in terms of the food section. But at the same time, again, right now, global prices prices are coming down to match where these values are going to be, and that in turn could just keep things very, very stable.
As Heinberg was saying, it all depends on what the product is for how it'll affect you on your trips to the grocery store.
Right.
From the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
Pete,
We'll take a look at those midday
start off
markets
with,
right after this.
We played the
$1 billion. That's how much equipment is stolen from US
saying, just use that OPM. We just want to make sure you're out there. Because, apparently it doesn't.
We don't know what we do here.
It doesn't trust the commanders in the military to make sure their personnel is actually there. Which I find kind of disturbing. Maybe others will.
Who are just trying to do their jobs. Call Judge Schimmel and thank him for protecting us. Paid for by the Associated Builders and Contractors
Tell
of
him
Wisconsin.
thank you. Wow.
Well, hold on to your britches, everybody. It's time to go nuts at the Springfield Corners Testicle Festival.
right.
March 8th, you can enjoy deep-fried delicacies along with ice-cold beverages and live music by the Lights Out Band. Join me, the fabulous Farm Babe, along with the rest of the Midwest Farm Report team at Springfield Corners for your chance to win concert tickets and to try some fried Rocky Mountain oysters. It all kicks off after 2 p.m. on March 8th. Springfield Corners. See Facebook for more details.
Welcome back. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report. Now let's see how those markets are moving midday on a Tuesday. Although the consumers may not be feeling the pain of the tariffs today, producers definitely are. Cash corn is down 13 at $4.43 1/4, with new crop corn down 9
Dan
at
Schaefer is at the
$4.42
War
1/4.
Memorial
Cash
Center
soybeans are
in
down
Milwaukee,
19 3/4
where
at
Judge
$9.91
Crawford is speaking at a
3/4,
panel
with
interviewing
new crop
discussion
soybeans
with
down
Milwaukee
21
Press
at
Club
$9.97
and
3/4.
Rotarians.
Cash wheat is down 17 1/4 at
God love the
$5.30
Rotarians.
1/2, with July wheat sitting at $5.45 1/2, down 15 3/4. Class
Were you
3
ever in a
milk is
service
not
club,
looking
Luke?
much better, though, as April contracts are down 34
Well,
cents
yeah,
at
well, yeah, sure. I
$17.75
mean,
100
I think
and May contracts are down 31
Rotarians,
cents at
Lions,
$17.85
Kiwanis.
100 weight. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
When I was graduating high school.
Really?
Lions
But were you not a member of the
No,
Elks?
I just applied for all the scholarships I could possibly get. I got one from the Elks, and I got one from
The Moose? The Moose Lodge?
No, the Elk Lodge.
Oh, just the Elk Lodge. All right.
The Elk Lodge and the Lions Club.
I'll show you the Lion. I was a Lion for several years.
I know that the clubs exist. I guess I don't know what they do.
Usually they're service clubs in the community, so they'll, like the Lions, raise money for eyeglasses. So particularly in poor countries, and then optometrists volunteer their time to go and test, and then you fit folks with eyeglasses. They also
My mom's a lioness.
really.
Yeah.
Well, you should ask her. It's just now they've combined them. They don't have separate clubs anymore.
Frankly, I think it's still
Old school Lions Den up there. They separate the lions and the lionesses.
There's enough people in Franklin, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, 'cause she doesn't. But I think it's probably some volunteer-based stuff. But she mostly likes to play cards. So she'll go play cards with the lioness.
Yeah. They also train. Now you would like this. Lions clubs raise money, and then they sponsor dogs, seeing-eye dogs, and you put it with a family and train them.
Yeah, nice.
Luke's gonna join the Lions Club and train a dog.
I can barely train my own dog. She listens.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes now past the hour of 12 noon on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Glad to be along with you on a Tuesday. If it's Tuesday, it's Tuesday Tangents with Luke Mathers, the one, the only. You know him, you love him. Luke, sir, how are you?
I'm doing well, Todd. How are you?
I'm great. It's that time of year. The spring is in the air. You can feel it. You can feel it. Basketball season is coming. March Madness. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's Muddy Paw season. So it's
Muddy Paw season for the dogs.
Yes, today. I don't know why you have a Boston accent for one word. But yeah, it's if there's rain later today or snow or whatever the wintry mix that we'll get, it's not fun for the Muddy Paws. But you know, you got to be on constant lookout for for those this time of year.
Now, this is serious. I started the show because my ears are a little off, but I think it's I'm serious now. My ears have become a barometer, especially since I got the tube back in one of them. And so my hearing, everything is tinny today.
Okay.
And because the point is, this is serious. There's a big storm system coming through later tonight through tomorrow. So particularly our listeners up in Hayward and Amory and Chippewa Valley area, Eau Claire, could see maybe 4 to 6 inches. Eau Claire, maybe around 4. Richland Center, Wisconsin Rapids, maybe 2 to 4. And then here in Madison, an inch or less. And I'm not sure in Milwaukee. Things are so hot in Milwaukee, it isn't even going to snow.
Yeah,
but a lot of rain.
I was going to say that lake effect will prevent the snow this time of year. But yeah, it's going to be the heavy stuff too. So for up north,
for old people like me, don't go out and shovel.
Careful. Be careful. Yeah. It's we'll see how it goes, but don't take it as a joke. It's unfortunate that now we're going to see maybe our weather services as we're hearing about more. We've got winter storm coming through now. We've got some of those watches, I believe, turning into warnings or vice versa. I'm still not a meteorologist, so don't quote me on that one. But there's some upgrading and stuff that's going out there, and we see more and more severe weather every single year. And in the sake of efficiency, we're gonna just start cutting the National Weather Service and NOAA, which is the agency that oversees that, and it's just mind-numbingly silly.
Well, it is silly, but it's also dangerous because particularly for folks in agriculture or really anybody, but I mean, they use those statistics and to calculate on crops and planting and harvesting, all kinds of great things like that. Yeah. So, I mean, those things are all in jeopardy. I want to just finish up with you on something we started before the break. We played the cut of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, as Todd almost spilled his water there. It was so alarming. And now Pete Hegseth, he wants to incorporate I didn't know he was a big Craig Kilborn fan back in the day, because Kilborn, when he hosted the Late Late Show, he always asked his guests 5 questions to end the segment, which is a great segment, which maybe we'll steal at some point. But now Hegseth asking civilian Department of Defense employees, justify yourself with 5 things you did, and email from your Department of Defense email to the Office of Personnel Management, which is outside the secure zone, as they say. And many of these people on the civilian side are doing jobs in which they had to pass security clearance because they are entrusted with military secrets, which, if in the public, or better said, in the hands of our enemies, could do great damage, if not death, to the men and women who put on the uniform. And now,
what's a classified document these days, Todd? I think all those
Mar-a-Lago,
right, all those classified documents, kind of all the protocols, all the steps, those all went out the window when a former president was able to just say they were his and took them down to Mar-a-Lago, and then there was just boxes and boxes in a bathroom.
I will say though, Pete Hegseth did mention if it's classified, you shouldn't include that. But then that begs the question: what if everything you do in a week is classified?
Right. So what people just say? I went to work. Yeah. And that's not going to be
just
enough.
5 bullet points, just saying classified. It's classified. It's
right.
It just has the entire vibe of, we don't know what's going on around here, so please try to inform us. Send us 5 things that you worked on this last week so we can get a better picture of what's going on around here. It's like it is one of the largest agencies in the entire federal government. If it was its own independent workforce, it would be like one of the largest employers in the country. It is. If you don't laugh, you cry, because it is so just absurd, like in the sense like it shouldn't be happening for a weekend television personality who did do some, staff management, overseeing nonprofit organizations, but nothing to the scale of this level. And now he's just jumping on the bandwagon of, oh yeah, we are going to ask what did you do? The 5 things that you did this last week. And that's how we're going to do a quote unquote pulse check. It's absurd.
Well, and I think it speaks a lot to, particularly for people who served or veterans of the military, it shows the lack of trust from the commander-in-chief in Trump, from Musk, and even from the Secretary of Defense. You obviously don't have any confidence in your military personnel, the field commanders, because everybody who is a civilian at some point answers to a military person in DOD. And so it just says, well, we don't have any trust in our our majors, our generals, our captains out there, our lieutenants overseeing these people.
Yeah, and I think it goes as far outside of just Department of Defense. The sentiment behind the email of saying share the 5 things that you did this last week is a disregard and lack of respect for all of our federal employees. But that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that on full scale. There are elected officials who have federal employees. Their office is staffed with federal employees. Like your legislative, the positions that you served once upon a time in.
I was a federal employee in the United States House of Representatives.
Yes. So all staff with federal employees that we're seeing reporting from Wisconsin Public Radio today, talking about now leases, the doggy, whatever you want to call it, is canceling leases for federal offices here in the state of Wisconsin for Bureau of Indian Affairs, for there's military contracts. That there are a number of
Texas,
different...
it was for an FBI office.
It is absurd. It is beyond the pale for any of this, because if those offices are getting their leases canceled, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not too far from now that everybody involved in those offices here in Wisconsin that found out that their leases are being terminated today, all of those positions are going to disappear as well. It is disregard, a lack of respect, and a slap in the face to the federal workers that go about their job day in and day out, every single day for the American people. They're not making bank. These aren't $2.4 billion air traffic control contracts that are rolling out that, Elon Musk somehow is just going to link to Starlink. These are federal employees that are doing a honest day's work, that the people that have come into power now have such disregard for them that they don't care what they do. They're just trying to say, hey, if you don't respond to this, we're gonna fire you. Hey, if we don't like the 5 things that you did last week, then we're gonna fire you. And it is just so disrespectful. It is so absurd, and it is just I gotta hope that there is going to be some aspects that our courts will be able to prevent these illegal firings. But there's going to be a lot of people, a part of the federal workforce, that regardless of what those legal outcomes aren't going to come back. There is going to be a vacuum, because what is the point when you wake up every day and you go about your job, your livelihood, your meaning for a lot of people, whether it's serving the country in whatever department of the federal workforce that you are a part of, if all of a sudden that is ripped out from underneath your feet and it no longer there, why are you going to go back?
Yeah.
If 6 months from now, if a year from now, a court decides that this was all illegal, what is the hollowing out of our federal workforce going to be like 6 months from now?
Yeah.
A year from now, 2 years from now? It's a scary thing to think about when you try to put it in that perspective.
Let's hear from a United States veteran in Tennessee. This comes to us courtesy of the Tennessee Holler, talking to a veteran working for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs who just got fired, they said, for poor performance.
I just feel like I've just been swept up in a dustpan and thrown out.
James Diaz started his job at the IRS office in Galesburg last April. First as a tax advisory specialist, then a few months later as a fuel compliance officer, a move he took as a promotion with a pay raise.
This right here is my termination letter.
A week ago today, Diaz was fired, receiving a letter from the Federal Office of Personnel Management.
Here's where it comes. Taking into account your performance and in light of mission needs, the agency finds that your continued employment at this agency is not in the public interest.
Diaz is a combat veteran. He served in the Army during the first Gulf War. After working as a truck driver and in manufacturing factories, he got his college degree in 2020.
I am upset, mad, and just confused at how they could treat people who put their life on the line for the country, who put themselves in harm's way, can be treated like this.
He says his OMP letter implies he was underperforming, something he calls a lie.
This was my first boss's narrative on my performance.
Diaz showed us his performance reviews.
You consistently take steps to identify and avoid work delays. You attempt to use your time in an efficient manner, whether waiting on customers, researching, or other duties assigned. You keep yourself constantly busy with productive work. Absolutely directly contradicts what I've got in that OPM letter.
He took pride working for the federal government. Now, as he's left to find a new job, all he feels is frustration.
I voted for Trump, but I still support, a lot of his policies. But I don't necessarily support the method that he's implementing them. Like, to me, there's no thought behind it. It's just chop and roll, and then we'll fix it at the other end. A lot of us didn't deserve this.
That comes to us courtesy of the Tennessee Holler. I got my agencies mixed up. That gentleman worked for the IRS, so we have another clip we might get to next hour of a veteran who works for the VA. But Luke, I think that was a good example. Again, these are not quote unquote Democrats being fired. No. This is a Trump supporter who's saying, "Look, I voted for the guy, but they're not doing this right."
This isn't a one-off. Either. This isn't one story of oopsie, as in last week's cabinet meeting, I don't even know what to call him. The shadow president, he wants to be dark MAGA. I don't understand what the role, special advisor, leader. It is so beyond anything we've seen before. We have not seen somebody with the amount of conflicts of interest that Elon Musk has walk into the Oval Office and just be handed the keys to the federal government, handed the means to go and start sending. Because again, this is straight from his playbook. When he took over Twitter, now X, this is exactly what he did.
Yeah,
he hollowed it out.
Literally took out the kitchen sink. I remember that was a big deal.
That's fine, I guess, if it is a privately held social media company. By all means, if you want to spend $40 billion on an overprice for that social media platform and do with it what you're going to, by all means. But this is the United States of America. This is our federal government. This is not a one-off story. There's going to be not thousands of these stories, Todd. There's not going to be tens of thousands of these stories. There's going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these stories, the way that the administration is running roughshod right now and attacking the federal workforce.
We might find out more tonight. President Trump going to address a joint session of Congress in the annual presidential speech. It's not called a State of the State the first State of the Union, first year of the term, but it's essentially that. Yeah. We're going to find out more tonight. We'll come back here in a minute. No, I guess we got a couple minutes left and talk about this. But I prepared to watch the speech tonight by last night watching Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. which I'm not joking around. If you haven't seen or haven't watched it in a while, watch it tonight because there's a lot of similarities of giving an authoritarian power when people applaud that and it goes rogue, it goes crazy.
I've said that all the time that he's really similar to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm serious. You should watch it before you watch before they watch the presidential address tonight. There are stories coming out, Luke. This one in the Hill, Hakeem Jeffrey, Democratic leader, saying it's important to have a, quote, strong and determined, dignified Democratic presence, unquote, at the Trump address tonight. There's different reporting out there, but some saying that some Democrats want to go rogue, I guess you might say, and either show up and use, noise machines or whatever, disrupt the thing. I don't know that that's the way to go, because then I think then you become like Marjorie Taylor Greene in her Cruella DeVille outfit and start yelling. So we'll come back, get Luke's thoughts on what Democrats should do tonight in terms of the presidential speech, give you details how you can listen to it on Civic Media. We're going to talk sports. It's Luke Mathers, Somers, Allbaugh on Civic Media.
News and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
There you go.
I'm planning our family vacation.
Those watching on the stream.
We use a house sitter from Hotel K Pet Sitting.
Yeah.
freebellyrubs.com. Free belly rubs?
Yeah, they're local, dependable.
Ellie Tom says, what policy did the guy you just played, did he like about Trump?
He didn't say.
It didn't. And he was just obviously, he said he was a Trump voter and yeah, like some of the policies. I don't want to read into it because the story didn't say it, but he liked something, but clearly didn't like his own job being cut.
Your government buy-in
goes back to I support the leopards eating the face party, but I just never thought the leopards would come and eat my face.
Unknown private donations and refused to sign a General Services Administration.
John in West Bend says on the TV listings, Fox Faux News shows it as the State of the Union. Yeah, it was. I watched Colbert last night, and he kept calling it State of the Union, and the cryon below him said, "Join us for a live show tomorrow after the presidential address."
Disclose that information by February 19th, including Trump's
I just
first
keep
transition.
thinking of
In November,
the
Trump's
Mad
chief
Men
of
gif
staff
where it's like,
promised to disclose
"Are you
those
drinking?
donors.
The whole nation's
Presidential
drinking."
Transition Act of 1963 allows money controlled by the
Pretty sure that was
GSA
during
to
the Kennedy
fund presidential
assassination
transition
aspect of the
expenses,
plot for
including
that
office
show.
space, personnel, IT, and other support services to aid incoming and outgoing administrations. That funding is contingent on the incoming administration signing a memo of understanding and a $5,000 limit on private donations. But while Trump's team agreed on the terms of the new administration's move into the White House, it refused to sign GSA's transition support memo, allowing it to sidestep the limits and disclosure requirements. So between November 7th
Walking his dog across some prairie, looking for the groundhog, but not supporting the doggy. It's Luke Mathers joining us for Tuesday Tangent with Lukester, 9 minutes before the hour of 2 o'clock, but 1 o'clock at the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News. Coming up at hour 2, it is once again time to play What's Worse, a Tuesday Taco edition. Luke, what's worse?
Tuesday Taco or Taco Tuesday, Todd?
Well, either way. I'm dyslexic, so it can happen. It can go Taco Tuesday or Tuesday Taco.
Okay. Do you put the fixings on the inside of the shell or the outside of the shell? I'm just curious, I guess. How far does that carry?
Anyway, more of that nonsense in hour number 2. Right now, talking about some of these cuts happening via Musk, Trump, and Department of Defense, Veterans Affairs, other places. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Jack in Merrimack. Jack, always a pleasure. What do you got?
Well, when Reagan was in office, I believe in the 1980s, there was an article I read, and it basically said something like, if the Republicans enact their entire agenda, they will never get voted back into office again. And we're at that point, I think, where they have this crazy agenda, and if there's a legitimate election, they'll never be voted back in again. I don't think so. But the catch for that is, of course, Bannon, I think he's one of the advisors now to Trump, has basically said, we're going to have not just 2 years or 4 years when Trump is out of office. We're going to have a 50-year 50-year MAGA rule. And the only way that could possibly happen is if there is not a legitimate election and in 2 years, and that I think is what we have to look at and deal with.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Jack, I agree. I mean, I've done this program before. I'm not trying to be over the top about it, but I don't think you can say anymore that a legitimate midterm election is assured anymore. Luke?
I think that the institution of our elections is going to hold steady. If we start to see all of a sudden some foul play, we just had an audit release that despite that there was no crying, no spilt milk over this election when they happen to be the victors, and Tammy Baldwin and Donald Trump both accept the winnings. Hovde for an extent there did kind of throw a tantrum saying that there was some malfeasance for his ballots.
He was upset he had to shave his mustache.
I think he liked that. I don't think he liked the mustache. I think he was probably...
Some people did.
I think he was probably glad to get rid of it. But, we just had an audit of the election. All of the tabulating machines across the state of Wisconsin counted every ballot. Everything on the election this last November was on the up and up. Unless we all of a sudden start to see tampering and changes to the way that our elections are conducted, then all of a sudden I think there's going to be some red flags raised and alarm bells going off.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I have full faith that our country will go 20 months from now to the polling places and have a midterm election.
I love that Luke's positive. Off the text line, John in Milwaukee on WAUK says it's totally absurd that any employer shouldn't be able to ask the employee what they're doing to justify their job. And don't feed your audience fear-mongering by being concerned about national secrets being exposed. Stop the gaslighting. Well, John,
if Leon Panetta sent an entire DOD email saying, tell me the 5 things you did last week, Fox News would be like running special reports on the minute, just being like, the Obama administration does not know how our Defense Department works, and there is nobody, they're asleep at the wheel, not understanding how our military functions. Like, that would be the hair on fire reporting coming out of Fox News, OAN, all of those entities. And so the gaslighting is coming a little bit from John's text, I feel like.
Well, I was just going to ask. I mean, I don't know what John does for a living, what he's done in the past. I actually worked with the Department of Defense and have been in meetings where classified material was discussed. So I happen to know that that is standard protocol in the Department of Defense that you are not allowed normally to send emails outside of the Department of Defense for security reasons. That's just legit. And also, as I said, all employees at the Department of Defense are, in fact, overseen, reviewed by their peers. It's called chain of command. That's, I mean, if you don't, but if apparently the Trump folks don't have faith in chain of command. State of or the presidential address tonight, Luke. People can catch it on Civic Media across the app, but across the airwaves, beginning at 8:00.
Yes, beginning at 8:00, we've got our CBS affiliates who are going to be reporting with the CBS special report for the joint address tonight, and across the network with the ABC News stations, ABC News special reports. So it's going to be.
Wouldn't it be fun if we crossed them up?
No, I don't think that they would like that. I would just say Todd's got an interesting definition of fun, but no, it's going to be good for both the network coverage, ABC and CBS, depending on which station you listen to. So tune in.
Democrats, should they go? Should we stay, or should we not we? But should they go or should they stay? Or what should Democrats do tonight?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see. There's been a lot of question marks. There's new leadership at the DNC. There's new leadership in the House of Representatives, or newish, more new, I guess, than in the Senate. I don't know. Chuck Schumer, nobody can call him new. It will be interesting to see what they're doing with the changing of the guard at the DNC and how our elected officials are going to be receiving this, because I think there's going to be some raunchy aspect. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to contain herself any more than she would have during a Biden address like this.
Well, she's not going to shoot down. She's not going to shout down.
No, she'll
Donald
probably be
Trump.
Screaming and doing a you rah rah kind of thing for it.
I just think that either if Democrats don't want to go, that's their right, and they should just not go. If you're going to go, I think it's fine just to stand there and not clap, but don't cause a scene, because Republican media cycles are going to amplify that.
Yeah, but they're going to find something to amplify and cry about. And
Badgers going to win tomorrow night?
Border battle, we're going to take Minnesota's lunch.
Take their lunch. All right, we'll hold Luke's to it. Thanks, Luke Mathers. Appreciate you, Tuesday Tangent. Luke, come on back. What's worse? It's a Taco Tuesday Taco. We'll figure it out on Civic Media.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX. Teach Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome Appleton-based comedian John Egan and filmmaker Craig Kinnett, who joins me in the studio. That's right, folks. He's going to fight Green Bay traffic. Let's light it up.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8.
My ears are just...
Transform your outdoor space with David J. Frank, Wisconsin's award-winning landscape management company for 65 years. You've seen their beautiful work at Hilldale Shopping Center. From expert lawn care to seasonal flower beds, precise trimming and sustainable solutions, David J. Frank makes your vision a reality. And right now is the best time to prune or remove trees. Request your free quote today at davidjfrank.com and get on their list for spring cleanups. David J. Frank, 65 years of excellence in every blade of grass.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump addresses a joint session of Congress tonight, outlining his economic plans along with foreign policy. That includes efforts to end Russia's war in Ukraine. After the fallout from talks with Ukraine's President Zelensky last week, Trump ordered a hold on all U.S. military aid to Ukraine.
Right now, U.S. aid to Ukraine will be temporarily put on pause as these conversations continue to play out. It's important to note that the overwhelming majority of the aid that was promised during the Biden administration has already gotten to Ukraine, but there are still some things in the pipeline that could be held up right now. If there is a delay, whether that's weeks or months of this aid not getting to Ukraine, there could be a real impact on the battlefield.
ABC's Karen Travers. Canada reacting to U.S. tariffs matching the 25% tariffs the U.S. imposed on goods on Canada and Mexico. The Vatican says Pope Francis had no new respiratory crises, but will sleep with a ventilation mask now at night. This is ABC News.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. We've got everybody's favorite phrase in the forecast, wintry mix. Now today, it's just going to be rain. Today, it's just rain this afternoon through the evening. A cold rain, in my opinion. Sometimes that feels worse than snow. We could get over an inch of it here in Dane County. But tomorrow, things will start to shift. As the air gets colder in the morning, that rain will transition into snow. We're not expecting much accumulation here, but other parts of the state already have winter storm watches in place. Brittany Merlot has more.
A big storm is slamming the state today, with rain ramping up tonight and flipping to snow through Wednesday, where over a half of a foot of snow is expected in north and western parts of the state, and much less elsewhere. However, winds will be strong statewide, gusting up to 40 miles per hour at times. This will create some whiteout conditions no matter how much snow you get. It'll also be a heavy, wet, and slushy snow type. It'll be hard to clear with a layer of ice underneath it. It is coined heart attack snow from overexertion.
The snow should wrap up by tomorrow night. A Dane County judge has ordered the Wisconsin Department of Corrections to launch a new program aimed at giving incarcerated moms and their babies more time together. A lawsuit was filed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Wisconsin, and it cited a 1991 law that required the Department of Corrections provide a mother-young child care program for incarcerated
My roommate
people
Elliot,
with kids
who works
under a year old. The program would include accommodations.
My roommate Elliot, who works for the UW, was just on a research trip in Panama. He just got an email asking for a brief itinerary of what work was done every day. He was there for a month.
Wow.
They didn't tell him to do that beforehand. How's he supposed to know what he did every single day for a month-long trip?
They could start construction as soon as next year and finish up by 2027.
Every single other work project trip, like research trip that he's done, it's been, I was on a work trip working on this project. Okay, approved.
Wow.
Because they trust the leadership of the project to know what they're doing.
I just sent you a cut of Fox News, actually.
They've won 6 of their last 7 games.
We're moving in the right direction, and we've had some hiccups. That's to be expected, but I had a coach in the past. He's always said that the regular season is just rehearsal for the playoffs. That's just
I don't have it just yet.
and obviously you want to win, and every game is going to have a different challenge.
Baseball, the Brewers losing to the Reds 5-4 in Cactus League action. Left-hander Aaron Ashby had to leave the game with apparently a strained oblique muscle. The Brewers have signed veteran lefty Jose Quintana to a 1-year deal. NFL, the Packers are agreeing to a 2-year deal with linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, worth around $9 million with incentives. McDuffie, a 6th-round pick for Green Bay 5 years ago. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Rain rolls in this afternoon and ramps up tonight, where we're looking to accumulate around an inch of rainfall. With temperatures staying above freezing in the mid-30s, we'll continue to see rain through the morning. Then it'll start to mix with snow by the afternoon. It'll be windy with gusts around 40 miles per hour and less than an inch of snow. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 46 degrees at our studios.
America is kept safe because
Wow, yeah, I got the cut. Even Fox News.
protects and supports our nation when it needs them most.
You can only
The
lie
Army
so
National
much.
Guard responds to disasters such as wildfires and floods. They protect us with missile defense, cybersecurity, and civilian support teams for chemical, biological, and radiological hazards. Be there for your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The John and Gordy Show.
We got a couple of people on the line here. Let's go to Mark, who's been holding on here for quite a while. Good morning, Mark. What do you got for us this morning?
I can't hear you.
I'm sending another one of DVO as well right now.
Is it clean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've listened to it. Thank you.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8.
Got 30 seconds, and I got it.
WMDX and the Civic Media app.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the fantastic Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program here on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. It's a great day to be in Wisconsinite. A little overcast in downtown Madison, the world headquarters. There's a front coming in, Zommers. I've gotten to the age now, apparently, where my eardrums are going crazy today. Everything feels and hears tinny.
I can feel it in my bones. My knee always gets sore when it's going to rain.
That's pretty good. I've reached that age, but no, in all seriousness, there's a big front coming through, and people should be aware, particularly our listeners in Northwest Wisconsin, Amory, Hayward, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Chippewa Valley area. Those areas could see maybe 6 inches of snow before it's all said and done tomorrow night. Elsewhere, the middle part of the state, 2 to 4 inches. Madison here, inch, maybe 2 on the outside. And in southeast Wisconsin, maybe nothing at all. Just a lot of rain, though. Lots of rain, but needed rain. So appreciate the moisture. Just be aware that driving conditions may deteriorate as we go across the next 48 hours or so. Lower Michigan, just on the other side of the river from La Crosse, blizzard warnings. I mean, this is kind of crazy. So be aware of that. Civic Media will continue. Our great weather team will continue to let you know what's happening throughout the next 24 to 36 hours or so as this moves through. Many thanks to Luke Mathers for being here for Tuesday Tangents with Lukester. Always a pleasure to have him along. Give an opinion. We always say we're going to talk more sports, and then it's been so newsy we haven't gotten a chance to do that.
You'll have to set aside and dedicate
an all sports hour.
Yes. Or even just say, all right, the first 15 minutes with Luke, we can talk politics. And then it is done. No more.
Right. You're going to set, they talked about an egg timer. Are you going to you'll get us an egg timer?
No, I'll just turn off your microphones.
Oh, all right. Very good. Very good. All right, well, lots to get to here this hour, including a little what's worse for you. Have some fun. But also want to get to a couple of stories. The tariffs, of course, have been put into effect. Going to talk about that a little bit on Canada, Mexico, and China. And also these town hall meetings and First Amendment rights. Want to talk about that a little bit this hour as well. But first, on these tariffs, they went into effect at midnight on those 3 countries I mentioned, Mexico, Canada, and China. The first 2, of course, are trade partners, our allies. President Trump's planned 25% tariffs on steel imports are already affecting prices for the material, with the benchmark price for domestic steel reaching more than $900 a ton last week, a roughly 25% increase on the year. At the start of Trump's term, a ton of steel sold for less than $700. But domestic producers are now reportedly quoting customers prices of $1,000 a ton. While demand for U.S. steel has remained relatively unchanged, domestic producers have raised prices in anticipation of the tariffs, and U.S. prices have now moved above par with imported steel. This according to Bloomberg reporting. And here's something we don't do a whole lot. Play a little Fox News for you. Stay with me. Stay with me. So this is on the old Maria Bartiromo show, or whatever her name is.
Something like that.
This is real. Fox News just played this a while ago. A reporter in the field at a Dodge truck dealership, even Fox News is reporting how much the tariffs that went into effect at midnight are going to affect us. This is real, folks, off of Fox.
And the auto industry expects to feel the impact of President Trump's tariffs. Fox Business's Jeff Flock is in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania this morning with a firsthand look. Jeff.
Could be ground zero for the impact on the tariffs, Maria. This Dodge Ram truck, $80,000, instantly became $100,000.
There you go. Even Fox News reporting that overnight, a brand new Dodge Ram truck went from $80,000 to $100,000. Remember when we went through the pandemic and for even like a year or so after? Remember how prices just went through the roof on automobiles? And even because here's what happens. Nobody wants to pay, or a few people want to pay, a $20,000 surcharge on a new automobile. I mean, think about that. Dodge Ram. I mean, I've got a 2016 1500 Dodge Ram. So, I mean, mine's a little old now. 120,000 miles on it. I'm going to drive that thing until it falls apart, by the way. It's just getting broke in. So, I'm not trading anytime soon. But think about that. For a new Dodge Ram, $80,000. And now overnight, it went up to $100,000. So what happens is people are like, well, I'll buy used. Well, because the demand is there on the used, that sends those prices to the roof.
By the way, what's the price increase from 80,000 to 100,000? 25%. What are the tariffs?
Funny how 25%. That works. Right? Funny how that works out. So, again, these are real things that are going to start impacting Wisconsinites very, very quickly. In fact, well, according to Fox, there it already has. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines up to beautiful La Crosse up there along the Mississippi River on WLCX. In La Crosse, Dana in La Crosse, thanks for calling. What say you?
Hey, good afternoon, Todd. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just sitting here by the river on my lunch before the storm starts rolling in. Mm-hmm. So, kind of monitoring.
Any precipitation up there yet?
None yet. I mean, the street's wet. Just been. Yeah. It was raining this morning earlier, but nothing right at the moment. Say, now, according to Trump, the reason we're doing these tariffs are because we're just getting ripped off by Canada and Mexico. Correct?
That's according to him, yes.
So that takes me back a few years then, because if we're getting ripped off so badly that we have to now pay $100,000 for an $80,000 truck, and that's way out of my range. I don't even look at trucks. I'm looking at the stuff in my price range,
right.
And those aren't even vehicles. But what that tells me is that if you remember back in Trump's first term, and this one's for you, CJ, and all the MAGAs out there.
Okay, let's not call names, but okay, go ahead.
They tore apart. He tore apart NAFTA, allegedly, and created his own best trade deal ever
in his first term, yes.
USMCA. Mm-hmm. And that should be what we're under right now. So why is it a terrible deal? I'll leave it at that and hear your comments off the air.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dana. I appreciate it. Yeah, for those who don't know, there was the North American Free Trade Agreement was put in, years ago. And during the Trump administration, they redid that. Called it one of the greatest things ever. And now something Trump actually put in place, he's saying forget it. And with Canada, a lot of this stuff isn't so much immigration. They're blaming it on fentanyl, right? How much fentanyl comes into the U.S. and that they don't confiscate enough. But if you actually look at the facts, according to our own Customs and Border Patrol, more fentanyl goes from the United States into Canada than is coming from Canada into the United States, as it turns out. 855-752-4842. Ollie in the North Woods. Ollie, thanks for listening up. Getting any snow up there, Ollie?
Not yet. It's a little cloudy looking, but so far it's pretty good. Lots of rain last night. I just want to say welcome to Trump's tariff New Deal. And I just was wondering, the gentleman talked about the price of the trucks going up. I'm wondering how soon Elon Musk is going to be raising the price of his Teslas. Is that going to go up 25% too? Is he going to charge the extra 25% to the government for the new cars they've ordered from him?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Tesla stock already going down even before this, just based on his shenanigans and what he's doing. So that's a great question. Well, we'll see. By the way, Musk is going to be there tonight in the chamber during the presidential address. We'll see if they talk about that. Always a pleasure, Ollie. Thank you so very much. Kurt in Madison texting in on WMDX says, with vehicle prices jumping up, demand for vehicles goes down. And what will the vehicle manufacturers do? Cut jobs because the demand has dropped. And with all the prices of consumables going up, many other products such as appliances will drop because now they no longer have the extra income to buy products. Isn't that wonderful? Dana texting back into lacrosse says it's real hard not to bring up. Oh, I got it. All right.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it.
Individual. I get it. I just want to say this, and I love all of our callers, all of our texters, but at least on this show, other people can do what they want. On this show, I just don't want us to bring up specific names of other people who listen to or call into the show. Let's just make our own points, and we'll respect, as long as people keep it respectful, that's great. I just don't, I'm not going to call out people who listen to this show. I don't think it's productive. I think that's kind of a 1990s talk radio format to get clicks and to light people up. And I don't know about you, but I feel pretty lit up the way it is. I think especially after tonight, I think people are as lit up as they need to be. So part of the goal of this show is to have thoughtful conversations. Doesn't mean we can't disagree and be passionate about our points, but let's just not bring up and call out other people, challenge other people directly. I just don't think it's productive of getting to a good place of understanding one another. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Sherry listening in beautiful Horicon. Sherry, you got 45 seconds. It's all yours. What say you?
Hey, sweetheart. I wanted you to know, yesterday I went to buy gas. I was going to buy gas yesterday. It was $2.64. I thought, I'll wait another day. And I heard that it would be like 17 days before the gas prices would be raised. Today it was $3.09.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I appreciate it, Sherry, for that on-the-ground update. Yeah, gas prices going up. And Dana, don't worry. We love your listenership. All good. Back after this.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Judge Brad Schimmel is an anti-choice politician whose positions are too extreme for Wisconsin women. He supports a pre-Civil War law that bans abortion. But don't take our word for it. Hear it in his own words.
The 1849 ban on abortions.
Which, by the way, what is flawed about that bill?
The 1849 abortion ban provides no exceptions for rape or incest.
What is flawed about that bill?
The 1849 law criminalizes doctors and their patients.
What is flawed about that bill?
Brad Schimmel supports an 1849 law to ban abortion with no exceptions. Tell Brad Schimmel, extreme politics don't belong on Wisconsin's Supreme Court. Call 262-548-7548. That's 262-548-7548. Paid for by A Better Wisconsin Together, Incorporated.
Listen to the John and Gordy Show weekdays right here on WMDX, sponsored by Verlo Mattress. Sleep better, dream bigger on a handcrafted, locally made mattress. Find them on Madison's East and West Side or online at verlo.com.
Looking to strengthen the bond with your pup? Dane County Humane Society offers a variety of dog training classes led by certified trainers. Classes are designed to help you and your furry friend learn new skills, improve behavior, and deepen your connection. Whether your dog is a curious puppy, an independent teenager, or a lifelong learner, DCHS has the tools and expertise to help you set the stage for a successful year ahead. Visit giveshelter.org/dog training to register today.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody.
Through all the fatherhood's first, never stop.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 21 now past the hour of 1 o'clock on Tuesday, March 4th. Zombers on the board. Glad to be along with you. Going to get to what's worse, a little Taco Tuesday edition for you. Going to ask you what's worse. But I want to make sure we get to this because, again, it's fast and furious. Breaking news out there today. So earlier this morning, according to Politico, or I guess it'd be late morning, early afternoon in D.C., the chair of the House Republican campaign arm told Republican lawmakers to stop holding in-person town halls amid a wave of angry backlash over the cuts undertaken by President Donald Trump's administration. Representative Richard Hudson, Republican of North Carolina, the NRCC chair, delivered the message inside a closed-door meeting of House Republicans, according to three people granted anonymity to describe the private remarks, according to Politico. Trump yesterday dismissed the town hall uproar, much of it trained on the sweeping cutbacks made by the Musk-led Doge as being part of the work. Trump said it was part of the work of quote-unquote paid troublemakers. Many other Republican leaders have adopted a similar tact, asserting that the protests Republican lawmakers have encountered have been coerced by Democrats and do not reflect genuine voter anger over the Trump cuts. Speaker Mike Johnson said the people who do this as a profession, they're professional protesters, he said. He said he thought it was, quote unquote, wise not to, quote, play into that, unquote, and added that the teletown halls were a good option for members to hear from their constituents. Just phone in, literally phone it in. I have a little perspective on this, but first, let's hear from good old Derek Van Orton, Republican congressman of Western Wisconsin. This comes to us from the Heartland Signal. I'm not sure which conservative radio show he was on in Wisconsin. Maybe it was Vicki McKenna, was it?
What's the Meg Ellefson show?
Oh, the Mike Ellefson show. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. But okay, great. Here's Derek Van Orton, courtesy of this sound from Heartland Signal.
Well, it's not just Glenn. They're over disrupting Fitz's meetings, and they did a whole bunch of Republicans around the country. And people have to understand, I'm a history buff, and how people in all people associated with the communist movement and the National Socialism movement used to get their way politically is they would do stuff like this, and they were called agitators. So this is a time-tested, proven method for very far left and very far right groups to get their way. And when I say very far right, I mean actual National Socialists. So here's what I told everybody. We've been getting harassing calls. I just got more death threats last week, me personally. If anybody's coming to any of these meetings that we have, and they act in an unlawful manner by harassing people, or if they're being disruptive, refusing to leave a venue, we will have them arrested and charged with a Class B misdemeanor. I'm not going to put up with these agitators showing disrespect and acting in an unlawful manner to their fellow Wisconsinites or my staff, period.
FAFO.
That's Derek.
Well, listen, we're not doing it.
That was Derek Van Orton, Republican congressman of Western Wisconsin, courtesy of the Heartland Signal on conservative radio. So now comparing people who show up, constituents who disagree with him, basically calling them Nazis. And this is a theme today, all planned out. All planned out. Donald Trump on his Truth Social says, quote, all federal funding will stop, in capital letters, for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. And then in capital letters, no masks, exclamation point. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Headline on Media Light, Trump threatens to cut all federal funding to universities that allow, quote unquote, illegal protests. What is an illegal protest? You see how they both use, Trump and Van Orden, the term agitators? Trygve Olsen talks about this all the time on this show. Former Republican like myself has fought against autocracies and fascism in Eastern Europe, has been banned by Putin himself from Russia. I keep saying that because I want you to understand this is not just a political pundit. Trygve has lived this to the point where he is banned. He is seen as an enemy of Vladimir Putin. So this guy knows something about this stuff. This is a narrative from MAGA. It's a narrative from Trump. It's a narrative from Van Orden. That anyone who shows up is an agitator. And that I'm not sure what their criteria is for an illegal protest. Now, if you're on a campus where they don't allow overnight camping, and that's in their ordinances or whatever, and you camp there, then yes, that's illegal. You know, you're there on that ground. But if it's in a street or a sidewalk or in a public place, as long as you're not vandalizing anything, as long as you're not causing harm, as long as you're not being destructive, that kind of protesting is protected under something called the Bill of Rights. Freedom of speech. But do you see the narrative? We don't like you. You're causing trouble. You're pointing out the truth. We'll call you an agitator and have you arrested and expelled from school if you're a student. I was working for former Republican Dale Schultz in the state Senate during Act 10. And during the mining controversies, Dale was the only Republican in the state Senate to vote against Walker's Act 10. It was Republicans who showed up to his personal home in Richland Center in the mornings at all hours with pickets and blocked his driveway so he and his family couldn't get out. And you know what his reaction was? He went out and put salt on the sidewalk. It was during the winter because he was afraid they're going to slip. I said, the police said you want us to come and do it. He goes, no, just let them. They're right, as long as they don't do anything harmful. He had a much calmer approach to that than the staff did, by the way. And now those same Republicans say that peaceful protesting is agitating. Come back, take your calls. What's worse is ahead. 855-752-4842 is the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I didn't know
Real
that.
News and Great
Wow.
Conversation, 92.7
True story.
WMDX.
Has the added value of being true.
Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Well, the trade war is starting. President Donald Trump's tariffs against Canada and Mexico began today.
Begun?
Goods
The trade
will be
war's
taxed at
hot.
the border as they enter the
Pretty
country.
much.
In return,
I'm telling
those
you,
nations
for
are in the
people watching on the
process of
stream,
implementing their own
watch
increased tariffs against the U.S.
Revenge of the Sith, yeah,
Or
episode
Generally,
3.
the cost of
Star
tariffs are put onto
Wars,
the consumer,
episode
as companies
3
are forced to
of
raise
the
prices
quote-unquote
to
new
cover that
series,
extra tax.
or the middle
Thomas
series, however you
Kemp,
want to
an
look at
economics
it.
professor at UW Eau Claire,
Just
says
Revenge of the
Wisconsinites
Sith.
will
That's all you
feel
have to
it in
know.
all kinds of
It's where Anakin Skywalker turns into Darth Vader,
increases in prices
and
in
it
the
is
American goods
spookily
markets,
similar
and you
to
also
what
It
we are
is.
going through right now.
firms looking
Spookily.
to alter their supply
I've thought that
chains,
for a
which I'm
long
sure
time.
They are already
Yeah.
creating
Yeah.
contingency plans.
Another thing that's
If you need
funny
to fill up your tank
in
now may be a
episode
good
1,
time.
you know,
We're
the
expecting to
prequel
see
trilogy
prices rise
that they
at the pump
added.
by up to 15
The
cents per
opening
gallon.
title crawl,
That's,
people
of
are like,
course, on
what?
top
This is
of
stupid.
natural
No one
market
cares about this
changes
because
that determine
turmoil
the
has
price of
engulfed the
gas.
Galactic Republic.
If you
The
have
taxation of
insurance
trade
coverage
routes
through
to outlying
Anthem
star
Blue Cross
systems is
Blue
in
Shield
dispute.
and UC providers at UW Health, those
That's also really
providers
similar.
will soon become out of network.
It
The
all
ICHR
starts
and
with
health system are currently in
taxation.
negotiations. UW Health says Anthem
Hoping to resolve the
BCBS
matter
has
with a
agreed to
blockade
a
of
much
deadly
higher
battleships, the
reimbursement
Greedy
rates for
Trade
other
Federation has
Wisconsin
stopped all
health
shipping to the
systems,
small
and
planet of
Anthem's
Naboo.
offer doesn't keep up with inflation. Plus, UW Health says Anthem wants to be able to change the rates unilaterally at any point. Anthem calls UW's demands excessive. The current deal expires April 1st. So if they don't reach an agreement before then, people who get their insurance through Anthem BCBS will have UW Health considered out of
How about this? Here's
and
Harry.
for parents, now is your chance to start
War.
putting kids to
The
bed a
Republic
little
is
earlier
crumbling
before the
under
clocks
attack by
spring
the
forward
ruthless
this
Sith
weekend.
Lord Count
Doctors from
Dooku.
UW Health
There
are
are
Yeah,
heroes
title
on
crawl
both
for-
sides.
just 15
Evil is
minutes
everywhere.
each night.
In a
Spring
stunning
forward
move,
early
the
Sunday morning.
fiendish droid
I'm
leader
Savannah
General
Tomei
Grievous
Olson.
has
You're
swept into the
listening to
Republic capital and
92.7
kidnapped
WMDX
Chancellor
News.
Palpatine,
On your
leader of the
entertainment
Galactic
beat, I'm
Senate.
Pete Schwaba.
As
Some fun
the
moments
separatist
during Sunday's
droid
Oscar
army
broadcast
attempts to
included
flee and
Queen
besiege
Latifah
capital
looking like
with
she
their
wore a
valuable
parachute to
hostage,
the event
two
during her
Jedi
nice
Knights
tribute to Quincy
lead a
Jones. There was
desperate
also
mission
Adrian
to
Brody,
rescue
who won
the
his second
captive
Best
Chancellor.
Actor Oscar for his performance in the nearly 4-hour-long film The Brutalist, and his acceptance speech was almost as long. There was Timothée Chalamet, who some thought was the odds-on favorite for Best Actor, dressed in a bright yellow pantsuit. Luckily, it's Hollywood, and the people around him were already wearing sunglasses. It's always exciting when history is made at such a big event. Honora writer-director Sean Baker won 4 Oscars for the film, becoming the first person ever to win 4 Academy Awards for the same film. The critically acclaimed director took home trophies for Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture. He is also the film's producer, and he won an Oscar for Best Editing. Honora was the talk of the night as lead actress Mikey Madison won Best Actress, giving Honora 5 Oscars out of 6 nominations. Not a bad Sunday. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio
Schwabadaba.
This is
Great
your
show for
local
those
Civic
watching the
Media
stream.
radio
Make sure you tune
station.
into Pete
Wanna hear even
every
more?
night.
Anytime.
Nightlight,
Find all
6
of it
until
at
8.
civicmedia.us.
Schwabinator.
Rain rolls in this afternoon and ramps up tonight, where we're looking to accumulate around an inch of rainfall. With temperatures staying above freezing in the mid-30s, we'll continue to see rain through the morning. Then it'll start to mix with snow by the afternoon. It'll be windy with gusts around 40 miles per hour and less than an inch of snow. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 48.
Hon, have you been to Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie yet?
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I know. I love the pizza.
Pizza is ridiculous. That crust.
Right, and they have
48 beers on tap and a great selection of wines.
And the atmosphere.
Not only is the restaurant gorgeous,
That room with the
giant windows that
oh,
open, and they won a Best of Madison Gold Award this year.
I love Sugar
River Pizza on Cabela Drive in Sun Prairie.
You took the words right out of my
mouth.
Yeah, sugarriverpizza.com.
Oh, so you have heard of it.
What?
Nightlight
I'm
with
not
Pete
even sure what that
Schwaba.
means.
I'm very excited. It is my pleasure to welcome tonight my old pal,
Speaking of
Dr.
your
Kristen Lyerly. I told the entire listening audience that I rub my feet together sometime when I watch TV, and I called it self-cuddling. And it's like the only thing we do where we rub our own bodies when we relax, you know.
Is it? Are you calling that to a gynecologist? Pete, come on.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Best promo running right now.
Yes, good job, Conrad.
wherever it may lead, and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show with the Civic Media Radio Network. Zommers on the board. Glad to have you along here on a Tuesday. Gonna get to what's worse in a moment. Just want to finish this up. Derek Van Orton, Republican congressman from the 3rd District, saying now that if people show up to town hall, by the way, Van Orton hasn't had a proper town hall, I think, going on 2 years. I mean, a true town hall where you say, hey, I'm going to be here. There's plenty of seats at a school auditorium. I'm going to be here for the next hour and a half. Anybody is welcome to stop on by.
He almost did, and then he chickened out.
But Van Orton saying now that he's calling people that show up that disagree with him, Congressman Grothman, Congressman Fitzgerald in Wisconsin, agitators. Same word that Donald Trump used today in Truth Social, saying that these folks are going to be arrested now for what they're calling, quote unquote, illegal protests. Lawful protesting, i.e., having a sign, showing up, chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, whoever has to go. As long as you're on a public sidewalk, a public street, anywhere public, that is protected under the Bill of Rights. Free speech. Can't go into somebody's private property and do it. And let me make very, very, very clear. I condemn any act of violence, be it to a person or to property. I condemn any threats of violence to any person or any property. Has no place, period. Period. But we're talking about the right to protest, which is a constitutional right. And now Trump and Van Orton saying that want to have these people arrested. And again, before the break, I brought up that, back in 2011, 2012, working for Republican State Senator Dale Schultz, who was the only Republican to vote against Scott Walker's Act 10 and held up the raping and pillaging of Wisconsin's conservation resources with the Walker-sponsored mining bill, said they're going to create thousands of jobs up there in Mellon, Wisconsin. To date, the vote or the job tally, zero. Anyway, there was Republicans in Richland Center, Southwest Wisconsin, that went and picketed my former boss's house, his personal house, stayed on the sidewalk for the most part, blocked the driveway, and my boss's reaction was to go out and salt the sidewalks so they didn't slip on the ice. Never shut it down. Texter says it's funny. There's been no such concerns like those expressed by Van Orton over local school board disruptors. Great point. We've seen all kinds of moms for liberty, conservatives come to school boards and basically shut them down. Death threats to school board members because they allow a book in a library that they don't like. And let's remember that Derek Van Orton has never denied that he verbally assaulted a teenage girl in a library in his adopted hometown of Prairie du Chien. Has never denied, Derek Van Orton, that he verbally assaulted teenage pages in the United States Capitol after a drinking bender in the U.S. Capitol, amongst other things. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Charles calling in Milwaukee via WAUK. Charles, always a pleasure. What say you?
Hey, good afternoon, Todd. Well, that texter stole my thunder, as Earl would say. That was my point. I didn't hear any Republicans outraged by the people acting complete idiots at the school board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden they want to complain and say, "Oh well, we know we lied to you all, but don't come and call us out for it."
Yeah, and that's a great point that has happened all over the state, right? I mean, Moms for Liberty people who are just upset because of a book at a library have shut down school board meetings. People are not running for school board because of death threats. And again, I condemn any sort of a death threat, any sort of physical violence, any sort of vandalism from anyone, period, full stop. But it's hypocritical at best, I think, for people on the right now to be upset because citizens, and we've seen this, right, Charles? We've seen this, that people show up and say, look, I voted for Trump, but I don't like all these cuts. And Republican congressmen run for the hills.
Well, and they thought, Todd, that it was only going to affect people in the blue states and probably people of color.
Right.
And not realizing that these federal workers in that, like the military guy that you played, that supports Trump and still supports Trump, and he's losing his job. I don't understand it. But I will say, next week, Monday, Todd, I will call you on Monday afternoon and give you the 5 things that I did this week.
I appreciate that, Charles. Maybe we should start doing that on this show. We should just set aside a time and let's tell each other what we have accomplished, 5 things this week.
That's right.
I appreciate you. Thanks for listening, Charles, down there in beautiful Milwaukee, 855-752-4842. Wisco Paul, thanks for calling in. What have you got?
Good afternoon, Todd. You're so nice to people. It's unreal.
Well, we gotta maintain some sort of decorum around here. And, we're all just people.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, we don't want to be like Van Orden.
Right.
The Tea Party comes to mind. That was pretty rowdy, but I'm fearful here a little bit. Well, you take Roman over here now. He's from a red district, and there was quite a few Republicans there that are mad. And I don't. If in the present course here, when you have somebody that isn't in government running cuts, just kind of like willy-nilly, it's not really well thought out. You're going to have people mad, and they should be able to vent as long as it's peaceful. Heck, even Act 10 was peaceful. There was no rioting going on there. They were boisterous, but it wasn't. But I'm getting a little worried about this. Are they setting this up for, like, if anybody does any kind of a disturbance, I mean peaceful disturbance, which if you're voicing your opinion, they just haul you out of there? I mean,
well, I think that's the concern.
You know what I'm saying there, Todd?
Yeah, that's the concern, and I'm at the same time anticipating, but also concerned. I sound like Susan Collins. I'm very concerned, but I'm concerned about what we're going to hear tonight at this. I mean, they're saying that they're going to do something revolutionary. We've heard this word now. There's going to be a revolutionary speech. What does this mean? Is this fear-mongering? Is this words to get people all nervous and upset? Or are they really going to announce something that's completely a counter to the U.S. Constitution? I don't know. So we're going to have to find out.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I will throw this out there. I've been around a long time, and with what you're doing right now, you're going to see a recession. It could be really deep. I mean, you can't just throw government people out of work without some ramifications there, because some of the people pay for themselves, and these tariffs, that's going to add to inflation. So you think people are mad now with the promises Trump made. If we go into a deep recession, then anyway, I'm not going to go any further. I love your show, by the way.
We love you, Wisco
Right,
Paul. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. 855-752-4842. Again, the presidential address by President Donald Trump will be held on this network via the ABC and CBS national anchors starting at 8 o'clock, and we will discuss it on all of our programs, including this one, tomorrow. Right now, it is 44 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Let's do this. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for What's Worse. No prize, money involved, nothing to give away, but it is your chance to have your voice heard across statewide radio. All 11 news, talk, sports stations on the Civic Media Radio Network. No better way to get your message out than on the Civic Media Radio Network. Timely indeed, on a Tuesday, as Mike Lucas likes to say. I say that every time because I don't want to think, I'm kind of ripping off his line. But Mike Lucas used to host this great show called Sidelines with all these Wisconsin sports reporters, and at the end, they'd take somebody's letter. And he'd always say, timely indeed. Because they always chose a letter that was pertinent to whatever was going on. It's a great line. Anyway, it's Tuesday. I love tacos, Zamers. Do you like a good taco?
Well, of course.
Fantastic. Question today, what's worse, homemade tacos or Taco Bell? Homemade tacos or Taco Bell? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Now, there might be some, I'm not here to hate on Taco Bell. I've eaten my share of Taco Bell over the years, and they do a fine job. But do you like that for lunch or dinner or whatever? Or would you prefer to make a homemade taco? Now, some people might not know how to make a homemade taco. So the question is, what's worse, homemade tacos or Taco Bell? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or you can text on the Civic Media app like Wisco Paul on WMDX says, that's too easy. Taco Bell is worse. All right. 855-752-4842. Ted, listening in beautiful Appleton, home of Harry Houdini. Ted, what's worse, homemade tacos or Taco Bell?
Well, I got several of them. What's worse than having Taco Bell is having Taco Bell and trying to listen to Civic Radio 96.5 when it's off the air.
Oh, no. No, we're down. We're down for the. Well, I'm sure we're on top of this. Are you being?
I had to throw that in.
Are you being
Todd.
serious, or are you
that.
goofing around?
Yeah, no.
Oh, geez.
No,
right.
it's been out all morning since early this morning when I started listening.
I'm sorry.
Like,
we're on it. Thank you.
seriously.
We're on it. We're on it. I appreciate it. You know, we're still a little of a startup
I
once in a
already
while.
called.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it. Well, what do you got? What do you got? Homemade tacos or Taco Bell? What's worse?
Taco Bell. I threw
Worse.
that Taco Bell in that.
All right.
Taco Bell's worse.
Taco Bell is worse. All right. Do you like a good? Are you a hard shell or a soft shell guy?
Soft shell.
All right. Very good.
I like soft shells. That way you can hold them better. And they don't fall all over you.
Now here, look, that's true. That's true. Now, Ted, here's how much we think of you. One of our fantastic engineers, Casper, is on top of this. He's listening. He has responded. There is a power outage in the area. It is out of our hands. So as soon as the power's back up, 96.5 will be back up as well. Look at that. What kind of service? You can't get service like that at Taco Bell.
No, and the sales guy didn't say nothing about that. I talked to sales this morning.
All right. Well,
that's the only person I could get hold of.
Well, you got directly from the horse's mouth on one of our great engineers. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that. And thanks to Casper. So there you go. As soon as the power's back on, so will 96.5. Sean, listening in Richland Center on WRCE, one of our great UPS drivers, says Taco Bell is worse. In Richland Center, RC Tacos in the RC is awesome. That is a fact. Ever out in Richland Center, go to RC Taco. That's great stuff. Let's see. DJ in Wausau, listening on WXCO, says homemade tacos are worse. Have you ever had Taco Bell breakfast?
Their breakfast is good.
I get the sausage breakfast crunch wrap combo twice a week for breakfast. The bag practically has a rainbow coming out of it. Oh, wow. All right. Very good. Let's see. Roger in Stevens Point says, if you want a delicious... No, that's not nice. Says you want a delicious laxative, it's Taco Bell.
Along those lines... Somebody on YouTube, Jiju, I think, says, as someone with IBS, Taco Bell is worse. I can control what goes into homemade tacos, and I got to agree there.
All right. Steve in Milwaukee says, I love both, but obviously homemade tacos are better for you. Come back, more What's Worse on a Tuesday. Homemade tacos or Taco Bell, 855-752-4842. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Madison's real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD,
Taco Bell is
for developing
PETA-friendly.
geographic
No
atrophy
cattle
or
and
GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible
All right, we got to read
vision
that.
loss.
That's good, Dave.
Now there's
I like
something
that.
you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
That's really good.
Izervay or avacin-capted Pagel is a prescription
I
eye
also agree that
injection used to
soft shell
treat
tacos
GA.
are better.
Don't
I
take
feel
it
like
if you have
I
an
poke
infection
a hard
or
shell
active
taco
swelling
and
in
the
or
shell
around your
shatters.
eye.
I know. You have to
Izervay can
be
cause
very
eye
careful when you
infection,
eat the hard
retinal
shell.
detachment,
But as soon as you
or
take a bite, it
increased
doesn't
risk
matter
of
how
wet
careful you were
AMD.
because the
Izervay
force
may
of your bite will crack
temporarily
it right down the middle.
increase eye
You have to
pressure.
bite
Your vision may
softly.
be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your
That's what
doctor
she
about
said.
Izervay today. Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Line Shot Social Club, a perfect blend of cool, casual dining, indoor golf with space for events, craft cocktails, and non-alcoholic drinks too. A hidden gem on Madison's East Side. Line Shot Social Club, open to everyone. LineShotSocialClub.com.
This St. Patty's Day, if you want a pot of gold, list your home with the Aaron Weber Group, powered by Compass.
Excuse me, kind sir, but it's not Paddy's, it's Patty's. As in
Patty's!
Patrick.
When selling or buying with Aaron Weber Group, powered by Compass, you get the best price with updated market reports and instant property value quotes. We like to say that move to Madison is kind of like a pot of gold.
Ooh!
It's the #1 site for leprechauns to...
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now 9 before the hour of 1 o'clock. Coming up at the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our fine stations you're listening to. And then another installment of the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon from 2 until 4. Glad to have you along as Amers and I right in the middle of a What's Worse for today. It's Tuesday. Lots of people do a Taco Tuesday. What's worse, homemade tacos or Taco Bell? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. Our listener, Dave, in New Berlin, this is great. Dave says, Taco Bell is PETA-friendly. No cattle are killed. He's implying that it's not real meat.
Which, just to
I
clarify,
don't think that's true.
it is not true.
That's not true.
But it's funny.
But it's funny. Nicely done, Dave. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842.
No other new ones yet.
No other new ones yet. You can also text us on the Civic Media. You have a preference, Summers?
Yeah, first of all, I agree with, I believe it was it Ted and Appleton who you asked about soft shell?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree that soft shell is better because I feel like anytime I eat a hard shell taco, whether it's homemade Taco Bell or anywhere else, I think about touching the shell and it shatters. And never even think about taking a bite. If I take a bite, it's all gone. It's out. It's
Jaws
everywhere.
of steel.
No, I don't even feel like I'm biting hard or anything. I just get annoyed by that. And so I would prefer a soft shell. But also,
so you're a hard biter. That's what you're saying.
I'm not going to comment on that. But homemade tacos are definitely. I agree with another YouTube commenter as well that as somebody who with digestive system problems, I prefer to be able to control what goes in my Tex-Mex. So right. Taco Bell is worse for me.
Listener on WXCL up in beautiful Wausau says, DJ, this is fantastic. DJ in the Saw is my husband, and I can attest that his. Let's see here, what's going on? We have my computer froze up here. I got to get this up in front of me. This is fantastic. This is always great when spouses dial in. So this is DJ in the Saw is my husband, and I can attest that his Taco Bell obsession grosses me out. Taco Bell is definitely worse. That is surely in the saw. Now, this is fantastic. This is exactly what we want. We have a husband-wife duo here dueling on Taco Bell live on the air. That's fantastic. What else here? Steve in Milwaukee says you have digestive problems. Don't get the Dorito Loco taco or the Flaming Taco. Just stay away from all of that. Brian, listening in Milwaukee at WAUK, says Taco Bell is nasty. What's worse is the speed at which it comes out the other end. Lots of digestive information here on a Tuesday. What's worse, homemade tacos or Taco Bell? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Yeah, I think I'll take a good homemade taco any day over time. I'm not hating on Taco Bell. I've certainly had it. What I like at Taco Bell, and I'm not even sure if they make them anymore, it's those chorizo. They're not real chorizo, or churros. It's like the dough that they fry and then they roll it in sugar and cinnamon. I like those. But no, a good homemade taco. Now, I grew up on the old-fashioned Ortega. You bought the Ortega taco mix at the shells, and it had the sauce, and it had the spices, and it was like a kit.
They still sell those.
Really? And we grew up on those. And then, we didn't, in Richland Center, we didn't have soft tacos till about 1986. I'm not sure. We didn't have them. We were a hard taco family. You understand?
There's no way you couldn't buy tortillas.
Look, I'm not sure if we had those at Wilson's Meat Market or not.
There's no way.
Ed Super Value, I'm not sure if they sold those back then. But we always had the hard shells growing up. And then it wasn't until I explored in college with soft shell tacos. And I discovered some things about myself, which was that soft shell tacos are delicious. And I like a good homemade, like a pulled chicken soft shell taco.
That is good. That is good.
Fantastic. Yeah. And of course, if you go to like actual Mexico or other places and get real tacos, that's a whole nother. Now here, look at this. WMDX listener, our Ortega taco kits are the best. Reminds me of homemade tacos when I was a kid. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Matt in Richland Center, our other UPS driver, this is fantastic, says, let's get real here. Your McCormick packet and ground beef is a joke compared to a Doritos Locos taco.
I will say,
Matt has feelings.
And Taco Bell has its place. If you want the specific Taco Bell taste, you're not going to be able to replicate it at home.
No, you can't do that. Just like you can't make a Rocky Rococo's pizza at home. It's impossible. I've tried. You can't do it. You can only get it at certain things. You can only get it at the places you buy it. And that's fine.
And Doritos Locos Taco, that's one of them.
That's one of them. All right, that's how we play. What's worse. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody calling in. We'll do another round tomorrow. That was a lot of fun. A lot of people have feelings on tacos. So there you go. Don't forget, we are carrying the presidential address tonight at 8:00 on the ABC and CBS radio networks. You can tune in right at 8:00 sharp. Zomer is going to be here to make sure that it gets on the air, unless he had a loco taco.
We'll see.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be on at 8:00 tonight. We can all listen, and then we can drink at 9. Revenge of the Sith. I'm telling you, watch it before the thing tonight. Here's a bit of sad news on the way out. Dolly Parton lost her longtime husband, Carl Dean. They were not public about their marriage, but married over 60 years. The wonderful Dolly Parton announced her lifelong love. Her husband, Carl, of 60 years, has passed away. Our condolences to the great Dolly Parton and her family. Many thanks to Luke Mathers, Zommers, to all of you for listening. Stay tuned. Maggie Dawn is next. Todd Allbaugh saying, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Adios.